Item number 3 is the proposed 2015-16 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or the CAFR, for the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG. Arnaldo Rodriguez, our Development Services Director. Arnaldo.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Council. Arnaldo Rodriguez, Development Services Department. Before I dive into this report, there's one person I'd like to acknowledge publicly. We have a new city employee, probably Monday. She's our new housing analyst here at the city of Yuba City. She's been here for about 3.5 months. And to Mrs. Monday, her background's in accounting, which really goes perfect, come with the accounting job or come with the housing analyst job, considering that it has so much accounting. Prior to her arriving here at the city of Yuba City, she held a couple of different positions, all in accounting here locally, and she's extremely enthusiastic, and we feel extremely fortunate that she joined our team.
Welcome.
So this item before you, the council may recall for the benefit of the community. The city of Yuba City receives approximately $585,000 a year from the federal government, and that comes in the way of a community block development grant. The city of Yuba City, we are an entitlement city, so on an annual basis we do receive those funds. As part of us receiving those funds, every year around May we have to come before the council, and we have a public notification process where we highlight what programs we're going to be spending those dollars on. And then every year around September, we actually come back to the city council and we inform the city council through a public process what we spent the prior year's dollars to, or exactly what we allocated those dollars to. So the goal of the CDBG program, just for the benefit of those in the audience, is to provide funding to expand economic opportunities and to provide decent housing and suitable living environments for low and moderate income persons. So just to recap, between July 1st, 2015 and June 30th, 2016, the city of Yuba City received roughly $566,000. Of those dollars, approximately 10 seniors received services through the city's senior handyman program. Roughly 69 individuals received services from the FREED program. 57 individuals received assistance from Salvation Army, and over 2,200 individuals experienced or received assistance from the Hand of Ministry program. Moreover, 936 people received assistance from Hands of Hope. 46 persons experiencing temporary homelessness received assistance through Bridges of Housing. Over 1,400 individuals were assisted through St. Vincent de Paul Emergency Food Program, and roughly 150 additional folks were assisted through the homeless program. There is one modification or just correction that I'd like to make on page 8 of the CAPER. There is a note on there in terms of how much dollars the city actually used during the 2015-2016 year. We did some additional calculations, and we actually expended $479,000, and the original report that went out simply showed the exact dollar amount that we spent for the fiscal year. However, in the report, we neglected to add the actual dollars that were carried over that happened to be spent in the year. So it was a slight error, but the rule number is 479 to include the actual dollars that were expended for the program year, but then also additional dollars that had been carried over, which were also spent in the same fiscal year. So in terms of how the money was actually spent, of the $479,000, 15% was expended through public services through a lot of the programs that we identified earlier. The 15% itself is a cap from HUD, so the most we can actually spend on public services is 15%, and the city did spend 15% on that. And then besides that, other housing programs, public facility and improvements, we spent close to $297,000, and then planning and administration of the program was $98,000 for the fiscal year. So with that being said, one of the goals and also HUD mandates that the city have a public comment period for the community members to actually provide feedback to the city in terms of how those dollars were spent. This 15-day public comment period was between August the 21st and September the 4th, and the city received no comments during this public comment period. So with that being said, the purpose of today's meeting is to receive public comments, which again, the city did not receive any comments, and then also to authorize city staff to submit the caper to HUD. Well, with that, that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Any questions of Arnaldo prior to opening this to the public? Nope. Nope. Once again, I'll open this. This is time for the public. This is a public hearing. Any member of the public that wishes to speak to this matter may do so by going over and speaking through that very same microphone that Arnaldo was speaking through. I'm not seeing another mad rush towards that. There, any other members of the public that wish to speak to this may follow down the and just queue up past the police officers in the back. 14.
Mayor, Council, my name is Fotine Halakis Copriva. I'd just like to ask a question in regards to the number and the amounts that's spent on the different agencies that we have listed up here. The folks that are within Hands of Hope, the outreach, the ministries, and all the different things that we do. Are we serving the same folks in all of those? So, for example, and I kind of think the answer is probably yes, but is there a way to figure that out, to figure out what we're doing per person in our community for those folks?
Mayor and members of the council, and I think 14 is absolutely correct. I think in a lot of cases we are serving the same people. However, some of the programs probably don't capture the names of individuals, or more than likely they're repeat customers. And a lot of that simply for accounting purposes, or there's a lot of folks that are probably reluctant to give their names, I would imagine. But we do not require that our subrecipients provide information in terms of the exact people, or in terms of their names or social security numbers or anything like that.
Thank you very much for the explanation. Any other members of the public wish to speak on this?
Mr. Mayor, just to provide one further item of clarification and a follow-up to that. I think it's a very fair question, and the issue was actually raised by Housing and Urban Development during a recent audit, and they have a desire to see us consolidate funding, whereas we provide $80-some-odd thousand to 10 different agencies.
Correct.
So your average agency is getting about $8,000. Their desire is to see us dedicated to a few agencies who can concentrate and consolidate services for that, get a better efficiency of use of money. I know the council is familiar with this. I think it's beneficial for the public to know as well, and that's something that we will see during the next funding round in the spring of 2016 that ultimately will be brought before 17. Thank you. Brought before the council for consideration.
Thank you very much for that explanation. And I know that in speaking with the HUD secretary by phone, that the goal of HUD is to provide services through more direct terms, and also the means of which need to be done through more consolidated efforts, so we don't have duplication of service. And I think that that's a direction that they're going to be enforcing as we move forward with this. Any other members of the public wish to speak to this? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing, bring it back to council for direction.
Through the mayor. I'd like to move for approval of this item.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?